Hey, Lizards, Gizmo here. I wanted to share some of the cigars we'll be smoking in June and July, so you can smoke along with us if you'd like. For Cubans, we've got Partagas Series P No. 2, Vegas Robania Unicos, San Cristobal de la Habana La Punta, and Por Laranaga Petite Corona. And for New Worlds, we've got Aging Room Quattro in Robusto, Oliva V in Churchill, and Davidoff Millennium and Pyramid. We also have a 2-part deep dive on artisan tequila coming up over the next several weeks, with much, much more to come. Have a suggestion? Email us, loungelizardspod@gmail.com. That's loungelizardspod@gmail.com. And now, let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Lounge Lizards Podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo. Tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Pooba, Senator Grinder, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some tequila, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 30-second official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We welcome our first guest lizard, chef partner Ricky Camacho from the Añejo Restaurant Group, for part 1 of our tequila deep dive, and we discuss why this spirit pairs so well with cigars, all among a variety of other things for the next hour. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair 2 artisan tequilas with the San Cristóbal de la Habana La Punta. Our second pyramid in the Battle of the Pyramids on the pod tonight, the San Cristóbal de la Habana La Punta. It's a 52 ring gauge by 5.5-inch stick. A gorgeous looking pyramid. Very rustic though, boys.
It is.
Way more rustic than I would think most of the other pyramids in the Habanos line.
True.
You know, you think about the Upman 2, the
P2.
The P2.
Yeah.
Even the Unicos. I mean,
Yep.
This is certainly the most rustic looking of the bunch. So very excited to do it on the pod tonight. Let's cut this thing really quick. See what we're getting on the cold draw. And the wrapper.
Beautiful soft box press here.
Yeah.
Compliments of the dress box, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Mine is definitely a little tight.
Yeah, so is mine.
Mine's
tight.
definitely a little tight.
Really? I'm wide open.
I had a feeling about
I took a good amount off of mine. I don't know if you want to look at this, Giz,
I
and
did the same.
I'm open.
I did the same.
Mine's pretty wide
Take a
open.
little more.
Okay, I'll take a little more.
yeah, mine's open.
Yeah.
Mine's
good.
open.
So what are you guys getting on the cold draw?
I don't know, not much.
Yeah, a little cedar.
Cedar, nothing crazy.
Tobacco.
Just cedar on the cold draw, but if you smell the wrapper,
Yeah. A bit of sweetness on a
like
wrapper. I
some
think.
milk chocolate.
Giving it another cut, Senator, did help a little bit, but it's still, I wouldn't say close to what I would expect from
Right.
a Habanos pyramid.
Interesting.
I'm just going to go with it.
Very cool.
Yeah, I was feeling around in the box, and there was 1 or 2 that were heftier. I just luck of the draw. They just felt like heavy. There was 1 or 2 that felt heavy.
Yeah, like
Maybe
they
you
were
got one of
packed too
those.
much or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have a very special guest with us tonight, boys, as we're about to light this thing. Ricky is here, the chef and partner in the Añejo Restaurant Group, with restaurants in what? New York, Philly. Did I miss any, Ricky?
No, currently 2 in New York and 1 in Philadelphia.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
growing and growing.
Let's light this thing. The San Cristobal de la Habana La Punta. We'll call it for brevity's sake tonight. We'll call it San Cristobal, but its formal name is San Cristobal de la Habana.
That's such a common word in your vocabulary. Formal.
Formal.
Because you're like the least formal guy I know.
That's true.
It's fucking hilarious.
He's actually anti.
Yeah, you're actually visceral reactions to anything having to do with being formal
It's very true. Only if it's a wedding or a funeral
or a cigar rating.
or a cigar rating. Again, this is 52 ring gauge by 5.5 inches. A pyramid.
I'd be curious how everyone's
It's
draw
interesting.
is.
If it was a blind tasting, I think this is a Monty too for a second. On the
I'm right there with you,
Oh
Pooba.
my God, you're right.
This is super
like if you
chocolatey.
blinded it,
Lots of that Cuban twang for me.
Yeah.
yeah, agreed.
So this is the first San Cristobal I've ever had.
Ah.
I've never had one before.
This is the only one I've had.
Yeah,
The La Punta?
Same here. I've been asking Bam for this cigar for the last 2 years.
What else is new?
Your wish has come true.
Just waiting for the pod.
It's very pleasant.
Very pleasant. Loving it so far. Your comment about the Monty 2 has me immediately guessing. What's the price point of this versus Monty 2?
So I paid $14 a stick for these.
So right on par.
Right on. Yeah.
Same.
About the
Well,
same.
not anymore. I mean,
No.
a box now of Monty 2, reasonably priced, is about $4.75.
Yeah.
So that has jumped about $100 in the past. I don't know. The last week or two, it's jumped quite a bit. Last month. So
Grinder, I find these to be a light to medium cigar for me personally.
Yeah.
I'm getting the Monty 2 thing, but not as twangy. It's a little smoother. I don't know if I like that though, versus what I like. And I'm getting a lot of I like chocolate in this cigar.
I get cocoa in this.
Yeah, for sure. It's good so far. I mean, I wish the draw was a little more wide open, but
For yours, yeah.
yeah, for mine. But so be it. You know.
Does this have any age on it?
These are 2019s.
So
LGR box code.
So before we get into tequila, I'll talk very briefly about San Cristóbal de la Habana because there's not really that much to talk about. The brand was created in 1999, and there was another brand with the same name, but it's not related. And it's a portfolio marca from Habanos, and there's really not much else to say about it. They have 3 regular production cigars, the El Principe, which is a Petite Corona, a La Fuerza, which is a Robusto Extra, and this La Punta, which is a Pyramid. So that's really the brand history on San Cristobal. Not much else to say.
Well, I think before we get into tequila, we were excited to have our first guest. And so Puba and his excitement brought something that necessitated me going upstairs for the Saber.
Oh,
And we're gonna
hey.
properly
Hey now.
we're going to properly toast our,
proper
our
lizard
first
welcome.
guest.
Oh, wonderful.
So, Gizmo, we are making it formal, in other words.
It seems very formal as the box comes out. Puba, take
Oh,
the
look at
narration away.
this.
And so right now what's happening is Senator, he's got a wooden box. For those of you who have not heard this before, there's a wooden box. And in this wooden box is a Saber. It's approximately 2 feet long, maybe more.
Intimidating.
It's got a beautiful handle on it. And it actually says his name on there, which is interesting. And
El Senador.
El Senador.
Do you see the bottle sweating, Puba?
And
Look at the bottle sweating. Look at it.
you
That's
know,
so hot.
I really chilled this. This is going to be nice and cold because it was nice and cold in transport, and we only live 5 minutes away. And now he's taking the sword. He's standing up. He's going for it. Oh, wow!
What a
Beautiful.
beauty.
What a
What
Saber
a
job.
beautiful
That's
job.
wonderful.
I mean, that's
I mean,
impressive.
It's
You're a
clean
pro.
right off.
Fantastic.
So
He's
Ricky,
got a
welcome
towel.
to the pod.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to the
Thank
pod.
you. I am extremely flattered.
And now
happy
you get
be
to
here.
watch Senator B. Garcon, which is one of our favorite parts.
I was waiting for Puba to say he's pulling out a 6-foot saber, about to samurai Gizmo in the fucking face.
which is not that unlikely.
Yes. Now he's evenly distributing the
Very-
Paul,
very-
Paul Roger.
Very gratuitous in the pores. Which
Oh,
we
yes.
all love.
Yes. Well, we're just gonna
Generous
toast this
pour.
and
We're just gonna
pound.
Oh, look at this.
Crush the whole
Oh,
bottle.
daisy chaining.
Wow.
What a gentleman.
Wow.
He's the best boy. He's the key grip. Perfect. And the garçon. So much effort and thought.
With the towel wrapped around his arm and all.
Yes.
Thank you, Senator.
It's a caddy.
Beautifully.
He's
done.
got
Thank you,
he's
Senator.
got a work belt on with the corkscrew, duct tape,
Thank you so much.
WD-40.
WD-40
sir.
wires.
He's wearing Tim's.
Exactly.
All right, boys.
All right.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Ricky, welcome to the pod. We're so
Thank you,
happy to
thank
have
you.
you here. Cheers, boys. Cheers. This is fantastic.
God, it hits the spot.
Gonna be pretty hammered at the end of this, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Cheers, bud.
Nice.
Do we need to give Ricky a name? Should we-
Ricky.
You know, I was thinking of that on the way here, believe it or not, and I just.
What do you got for us?
I couldn't come up with anything as cool as your guys' names.
Cactus?
No, Jesus. I said cool.
You prickly bastard cactus.
Prickly.
No, I'm trying to think where
Hero.
Agave.
The top one takes
agave.
You know,
His name is Hero. Sushi.
The sushi guy.
The sushi guy.
Because of the top
Because
now.
you're a chef and
You're just jealous.
because I'm bald.
Oh, Jesus.
I have no hair.
Let's call him Nobu.
The name has to be generated organically.
Well, that's your job.
It's an
Puba.
organic
Puba.
process.
We need to have.
We'll get there.
We
We'll
need
get
to have
there.
a moment.
Yes.
I'll tell you what. Let me think of that, and I'll get back to you.
All right.
The
But
grand-
that's the problem. You don't make your.
You don't.
Yeah,
You don't.
you
pick-
don't
It's
get to
granted. He's
Oh,
given.
okay.
There's really only
Yeah,
one
it's
person
given.
that gets
Yeah,
to pick it. And it's Puba.
That's exactly right.
Which is why he's Puba.
Look
All
at
right,
him.
boys.
It'll reveal itself in due time.
Yeah, it'll come out before the end of the episode. It'll come out.
It's like the spirit of God.
Yes.
Sometimes it just
Spirit of the lizards. So, Ricky, we are so happy to have you here, and this was brought on by in our short time knowing you and having met you at our clubhouse through. I know Senator has some mutual friends of yours, partners of yours. You have been an eye-opening resource, certainly for me. I would say for the entire group on the artisan side of great tequilas.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, man. First and foremost, I gotta thank that partner, Jay Pizzo, as I call him, for bringing us together. And I saw it as an opportunity when joining the clubhouse. So I figured, I've listened to all of the episodes prior to coming on here, not in one shot, but as they get released, and I see scotch and bourbon and even rum or beer featured oftentimes, and there was a couple features or pairings with tequila, I should say, and fine tequila. But there's so many tequilas out there that don't get the marketing dollars. They don't get the same opportunities that some of those other brands that you may have covered previously get. And it's not because they're any worse and more often than not, they're much better. They're excellent. They're produced artisanally, and they're just delicious to drink. So, I was just really grateful for the opportunity, super excited to get a locker to put my things in. And, I just look forward to getting to the clubhouse, and whenever there's people there, pulling out some good tequila and preaching the gospel, getting people interested. And maybe we could get some of those scotch sales over to the tequila side, to the good
You've
tequila
already.
side.
I mean,
You've
you've
converted.
already done
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You've already done that.
I just have to say, I mean, I think we're all very discerning consumers when it comes to spirits, and me especially. I mean, I can't count how many vineyards I've visited in Napa or other places, and the people at the actual site don't even know very much about the product that they're responsible for making. So I've got a pretty sensitive bullshit meter for stuff like this, and I'll never forget the first time sitting down with Ricky, just astounded by his knowledge of tequila and agave, and even more astounded that every single bottle of tequila that he has poured for me, one, I have never heard of, and two, has been absolutely fantastic. There's yet to be one that disappoints.
They've
So
all been delicious.
this has
Absolutely.
been a
Thank
long
you.
time
Yes, thank
coming.
you. Thank
What's
you.
also interesting is that he goes into the manufacturing process,
Which I'm so excited to dig into.
It's really fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the most romantic things about tequila. I mean, obviously, flavor aside, just how this stuff is made and what it takes to get it done is so interesting, and it makes you really want to seek out the good stuff, not just whatever's out there, whatever you can get your hands on. And if you can't find it in your local brick and mortar, just go online and get it, and or come to the restaurant. Chances are we'll have it.
How many tequilas you guys have on?
I'd say
inventory?
agave distillates in total, we're stocking right now about 234 bottles.
What? Wow.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, though, I would say it's mezcal and tequila are pretty well balanced. And then we have a few other agave distillates that really haven't gotten any time in the limelight, such as Raicilla and Bacanara and Sotol. They're just not out there as much as tequila or mezcal, but we'll get there. 10, 15 years ago, tequila sort of blew up in a good way. And then mezcal sort of started following, I'd say 5 or 6 years ago.
The mezcal thing fascinates me. So what?
I can't wait to get you guys into the mezcal. But
I
figure
can't wait for that.
We get
I
through
can't
the
wait for
tequila
that.
first. It's definitely going to be a slightly different experience.
Can't wait.
Am I the only one very nervous about that?
Very, very.
No.
I'm nervous.
I'm
nervous
anxious.
about
If
it.
there's one spirit I have not been able to enjoy, it's mezcal. Now, I would put my life in Ricky's hands, and I'm going to do this when we
Thank
do
you, thank
mezcal. We're going to see how that goes. I'm very curious.
Is mezcal a spirit that you can, nicely
Absolutely.
consume
I know
out
where
on
you're
its
going
own?
with- Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Because I've only had it in mixed.
That's the only way I have
Yeah.
it. I only have it neat pour, and as you guys know, no ice, right? Very rarely do I ever use ice in anything. But yeah, you learn to appreciate the terroir, the flavors that you're getting from the agave, from how it's processed. And when you get into the mezcal world, it's even broader than it is in tequila. But this is a tequila episode,
So is
Just-
amateur question? What's the difference between the two?
there's many, but I'll highlight a couple. So tequila has to be made from the Tequilana Blue Weber agave, so only one type of agave, and 5 different states in Mexico. They're usually cooked in brick ovens or stone ovens, autoclaves, and diffusers, which we might get into later on. Mezcal could be made from over 60 different types of agave, so you get a broad range of flavors. And then, as far as cooking, there are some that are done in brick ovens, but most are done in earthen pits. So sometimes, especially early on, it seemed like every mezcal hitting the market was a smoke bomb, and that's all people remember. It's like, oh, mezcal is a smoky counterpart to tequila.
Yeah.
And I probably have 2 smoky mezcals on my back bar out of the 100 that are there. So that's the exception. Not the common denominator with mezcals. And I think that's sort of where we get people started. Is it doesn't have to be an ashtray, right? It doesn't have to be that flavor profile, because there's some of these mezcals that the agave just gets to shine and do its thing.
Yeah.
So I think I speak for a lot of folks out there, a lot of listeners, maybe a lot of guys in the room. My previous experiences with tequila were not great, because I was drinking maybe poor tequila, bad tequila, whatever word you
Sure.
want to use.
Sure.
So it was very eye-opening to see the correlation between artisan tequila, which, the first vehicle for that for me was from Puba and Senator getting into Don Julio Añejo. And then moving on from that to the things you have been bringing to the clubhouse and kind of making us aware of. I mean, it's eye-opening how much I'm enjoying these. I'm reaching for tequila 9 times out of 10 now versus any other spirit. So
that's awesome.
and that's a credit to you and Puba and Senator. So that's why I think this is very valuable. I think doing this deep dive is very exciting for me because I can't wait to try some of these things, guys.
Awesome.
So-
It's so exciting for me because I think a lot of people, just like you, have had that same experience where their first tequila was probably the goat stuff in college, and you wake up the next day feeling like crap. And look, the reality is that legally, that's not tequila, right? Contains about 49% agave. The rest are additives and things like this. And that's why you probably felt like crap the day after. Everything from glycerin to caramel coloring to, you name it, it's in there, right? And those are the additives. All of the tequilas we'll be covering today will not contain additives.
So had nothing to do with the 27 shots. Right?
Sure. It had everything to do with that too. But you could only do that because of the price point at that time, right? A bottle of that stuff was,
Oh, we didn't know any better.
Yeah. So
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the additives because as someone who's been drinking tequila kind of since the boom started, but drinking commercial, like higher end commercial, more commercially made, less artisanal made tequilas like Don Julio, like Clasa. And what in Don Julio, I do like. I'll always drink it.
Clase.
Oh, Clase.
There you go.
Clase
Clase
Azul.
Azul. There you go.
Clase Azul.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Blue class. Yeah.
Clase.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I don't love it.
I like this. Please,
Oh.
please correct Puba.
I was
more
gonna
often.
go. I was gonna go right there. He is very well behaved tonight.
Correct me, goddamn. Clase. Anyway, it's sweet, and there's a lot of sugar added to that, and there's a lot of premium. So maybe that's something you can talk a little bit more about. There's this premium high end celebrity tequilas that are out there that are very drinkable. They're high priced, but they add a lot of sugar, and it really is. It masks the taste of really what a more true spirit or a true tequila should taste like, and it's not that great of an experience.
Sure. Yeah, it's not, right. And I'm not here to shit on any brand or talk bad about any brand, because there's something out there for everyone, and just like you guys don't cover many new worlds, or you're very particular about the cigars you smoke, I'm the same way with my tequila. So if there's people out there that enjoy Clase Azul, and I imagine there's many, because it's marketed well, it does well, it's available. So chances are, if you're at a bar, at a restaurant, even at a club, it's there for you to get, and you could taste it. And, unlike the bottles that I have here today, you're going to have to seek them out a bit. You might get lucky and find them in your local brick and mortar, but otherwise there's not a whole lot else done. We do have a celebrity tequila here today, so it's not all celebrity tequila. So I did make a point to bring a celebrity tequila, because this is one that's done right. And we'll get into it. But yeah, in some cases there's 3 different ways to process or your agave, right? And I mean, it's, we'll get into it. Agaves in general, there's different levels of ripeness. At those different levels, there's percentages of sugar. Those sugar percentages increase. When you're a mass marketed tequila and you need to make hundreds of thousands of liters of juice, you're probably not going to wait to get that 10-year-old agave or that 13-year-old agave that the smaller guy's waiting to get, because he doesn't make as much as you do, and he wants to make sure that what he does make is delicious. So you're going to go for the younger agave. What else are you going to cut out? You may not use the full artisanal process that requires you to, use a Tahona or a roller mill or a brick oven that would take days. It could take hours if you use a diffuser. Diffuser is a controversial thing in the tequila world, because of how it's done and what it does to the agave and what it allows you to do. But the fact of the matter is, if you're drinking a tequila that is that big, it's probably made in that manner. So what happens is they have to add additives to give that tequila soul, because when you bypass all of those artisanal methods, you lose the soul that's natural, that would naturally be in your juice. You lose it.
So let me ask you a question. Some of these other tequilas, like Class A, that you say like there are, additives to it, are they marketed more towards women?
I don't think it's women that it's marketed to. It's marketed to the consumer
Masses.
that's looking for that smooth experience. You almost feel no burn, right? I call it hot or not hot, right? There's heat. That heat is that burn. Some of that heat is good because that heat's coming from the agave. So it's kind of like those natural fruity notes coming from the agave. It's bright. Clase Azul is very dark, and that's a repo, which, we'll get into. That's only aged for, 6 to 11 months max by law, yet it tastes so insanely sweet and smooth, as if it's been sitting in wood for 10 years, right? So that's usually the first sort of factor that helps you determine what's happening with that brand.
So before we get into trying our first tequila, I'm curious what you guys are thinking of this cigar. I'm about
It's smooth like the Class A.
inch in. Puba has his hand up. Go, Puba.
Oh, I like that.
Class is in session.
Very flat.
I
for me.
totally agree.
It's very flat. I've had some performance issues. It's not burning particularly well, even though my drawer was open. It tunneled on me a little, and then the wrappers it's very one-dimensional for me. I'm not getting a whole lot of power. I want more, and it's not delivering it. And
I agree on everything you just said.
I have actually a very good burn here.
How's the flavor on yours?
It started very wonderful, and then to your point, it's I wouldn't say it's flat. It's
One-dimensional.
There is some cocoa notes.
Yeah.
that
Little
you
nutty,
get.
little
I
cocoa.
just relit and got that.
Yeah, you get that, but it's one-dimensional.
It's and the finish is really, really abrupt.
Yeah.
Like nothing. Like not
Yeah, but
long at all.
The aroma is nice.
It's all right, guys. The tequila will make up for it. I promise.
I'm just being honest because I felt
Yeah.
strongly about it as coming through here. It's not doing it for me.
It's
Absolutely.
funny, in the chef world, there's different types of cocoa powder, different grades, different colors in all our worlds, but I see it more often than you guys. This reminds me of a very light cocoa powder, almost like Hershey cocoa powder, right? Which is just your sort of everyday
Yeah.
commonplace cocoa powder. whereas there's like very ruby red colors on some darker cocoa powders or even really black. This is like a very light.
It's
cocoa
so
powder.
wonderful having a chef in here to like
It's
test
great.
our palates right now.
It's totally great. Now, do you use those in mole or?
I do. We use them in mole. We use them in. At one point, I was doing a chocolate pudding. Yeah.
So,
Mole for the most part.
as a chef, I mean, you might be getting some different notes from the cigar that we are getting.
You know, on
So
the, on the
what do
cold draw, I was getting some not licorice, anise. I was getting a little light anise hint, which is coming
Right.
from the cedar too. So.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting like a nutty thing too. There's like a nuttiness about it. I don't want to compare it to a ras, but when I'm saying nutty, I mean in that kind of rassy, nutty way. But we'll see how it develops here, boys.
You know what? Retrohale it.
All right,
Yeah, it
I'll
is
put
nice
You
something
get
else.
you get that anise.
It is nice on the retro
You
hail.
do get that little anise
And
note.
I would certainly classify this as a mild cigar.
It definitely is.
Yeah,
mild.
it's
Absolutely.
mild. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, boys. So let's Ricky, let's try our first tequila. Tell us what we got here, and let's start. Let's dig in.
Sure. All right, guys. So we're starting here with. It's almost a shame to go with this one first. It's a Blanco tequila, whereas all the others that we're doing have some age on them. This tequila is extremely special. It's called Fuenteseca Cosecha. Puba, you could say that in English for everyone.
Pagoda's in the house.
Fuenteseca.
Cosecha. So although it's a Blanco, this guy here, he essentially was, he's a master cultivator, comes from a long line of agave cultivists, and he wanted to find his own distillery. He wanted to create something that was more in the middle, right? And now if you look at this, comes in a beautiful wooden box with hay in there, and it's secure in the box. And on the box it says Huerta Singular, which is basically saying it's a single field, right? So some of those mass marketed agaves, they're because they need, tequilas, because they need to produce so much, they're just buying agaves from multiple sources. This guy is going as far as saying this isn't only estate grown agave, my estate. These agave come from a single field, right? And that field is located at about 5,524 feet, right? And it's protected by a cliff or a mountain that shades it in a particular manner, and it's also downslope. So what happens is the agaves never flood, right? So, Senator, you with the wine, you understand the flooding.
You're
of it.
speaking
Yeah.
my language. This is wonderful.
Right? So it's and it's funny, right? So I knew nothing about tequila. This is all like self-taught and talking with people, and many bottles won't tell you where the agave is specifically. This guy, if you look on that bottle, the label, if I could drag it here, I would. But it tells you specifically where it is in elevation. And what he wants to do here is highlight that agave. But that elevation is right smack in the middle between lowlands and highlands. So he's trying to tell us there's not only lowland and highland tequila, but there's this also, right? And when you get into this, petrichor is adjective I hear on this podcast often, usually to make fun of Grinder, but
No,
this is where I get it. But when you taste that agave, you're gonna get that. And he wants to highlight that flavor profile so much that instead of saying, okay, we're gonna go 0 to 2 months, because after 2 months, close to 3 months, you start to become a reposado if you're aging an oak. He says, I'm gonna let this sit in glass cask, or forget the proper name for it, but for 3 years. And that's going to allow the tequila to sort of play together, meld, and just become one with itself. And, you're going to get everything from briny notes out of here to, mineralities, black pepper, not too much, maybe more so like white pepper.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm getting a little bit of black licorice. And you mentioned anise earlier.
Yeah.
I'm tasting
So
that.
what are you guys getting? The nose on this is really interesting.
It's amazing on the nose.
Isn't it a little
There is
There's
some.
something going on in the
Yep.
nose that
Yep.
I can't describe.
Hey,
So,
Ricky, let me ask you something before you go on. What does cosecha mean?
Cosecha means harvest.
Because they do say that on some of the Reserva cigars.
Cosecha.
Exactly.
Reserva
Exactly.
cosecha.
Yep.
Harvest.
So-
Special harvest.
Mm-hmm. Just means to harvest. So cosecha is that specific harvest.
So are we trying this thing?
Let's do it.
Let's try it. What were we going to say, Bam?
getting back to what you were saying, it's really beautiful and elegant and mild on the nose.
Now, I want you guys to take note of this one thing. This is still strength. So usually tequilas you're going to taste are at 80 proof. This is at about 93.
Wow.
Yeah, it has a little
Kick.
kick to
Yeah.
it.
What is it? Hot? Is that what you said? It's hot.
Hot,
Yeah,
hot.
it's very hot.
It's really delicious. It's smooth, but
It's-
it's got a
It's
got an oomph to it. for
There's
sure.
a creaminess to it. There's a brininess to it. There's a minerality to it.
Getting like creamsicle.
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
A
100%.
little creamsicle.
Now he kept this still strength on purpose. He thinks the agave comes through more when it's when the final spirit's hotter. Otherwise, if this was sort of I would say if this was rested at 80 proof to this point, it would fall flat, right? If he's sat for 3 years in the glass jars.
I mean, this thing has also just been aged in that bottle. I mean, this said what 2013 was the year. I
Well,
think.
2016,
Or
because
16.
it sat in glass for 3 years. So I've had it since 2016.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was bottled in 13.
Yep.
Wow. How common or
Not
uncommon is
bottled,
that
but
for there to be an
still, yeah.
age statement, an actual year on a bottle of tequila? I feel like I haven't seen that. Obviously, we know Don Julio 1942 has not been sitting in that bottle since 1942.
It has in Rooster's house.
So, Senator, to your point, it's not often that you see it, and it's mostly because it's implied, right? When you see a reposado, by law, it has to be between 3 and 11 months. When it's an añejo, it has to be, it has to be a year or more. When it's an extra añejo, it's 18 months or more. It's usually not mentioned unless there's something special. This guy wants you to know the exact altitude, the exact field, why it's special to him, how it's rested. So he puts all of those details on the bottle. So, Giz, your favorite or one of your favorites is Don Fulano.
Yep.
This guy makes Don Fulano.
This guy's a genius.
Yeah.
What
he
is Don Fulano?
It's a brand of tequila.
You've had
It's
it.
One of the
Haven't you
añejo
had it at the club?
tequilas
We had
that
it
I've
at the
brought.
club
I?
with us. Yeah, you were there. He
Oh,
was
yes,
ready to
yes.
attack me.
It was excellent.
Did you see his hand go up?
That was, see that? That was the stuff on Cinco de Mayo. I was drinking from the bottle.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Oh,
a-
yeah.
that's right.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
There we go.
Got it.
Ricky, maybe tell everybody the name of this again.
Sure. This is Fuenteseca Cosecha. This is the 2013 bottling or harvest, I should say, because it doesn't get bottled until 2016. There are other years available that have other, properties attached to it in terms of why it's special. I'm not too familiar with the others. This is sort of my Blanco.
What's the price point on this?
So for a Blanco, this goes to $89 and more as the years go on, because there's obviously less of them since there's only 8,000 made here. And about 1,000 were distributed outside of the U.S.
So, but is he still bottling? I mean, is there new batches being produced?
Of this stuff, no, but he does have other years. Yeah.
Awesome.
So every year, is he producing roughly like 8,000 and putting the year of the harvest on it?
I don't know for sure, but I would say something
Okay.
along those lines. Yeah, he's making something
Cosecha.
special.
That's
He's
very
making
cool.
Something special.
Very
for-
cool.
for sure.
So just to comment on this. So you gotta. I feel like I get a much better experience when you take a generous sip of this.
Yes.
Yep.
And just get it. Just jump into it, and the finish is long. I'm not
Long
saying
and
drink
creamy,
it like a shot, but if you just nip it, it's not. You're not gonna get it. You gotta
So-
like. I'm gonna finish this right now.
Oh, really?
And you get it like coats your mouth,
Yeah.
and you really get
I
a good. It's not as hot.
That's a
Your
great
palate
point.
adjusts.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
for
and
us.
you just
I did the same thing.
It's
kinda
fantastic on the
give it a
finish.
good belt.
Yeah, he's right. He's
and
right.
it tastes.
So
the
here's a-
finish is so long on it.
Here's a question. We're drinking this neat. I know how you feel about ice in your tequila. If we had a chip of ice in each, how would the tequila react, and would it open up, and would we have different notes?
It'll open up 100%. I don't
Yeah.
know if it'll have different notes. I think it'll open up those
okay.
notes and sort of reduce the heat a little bit so that it comes through.
Sure.
I think for me, because I've drank this often up until the last couple years, This is probably the third bottle. I think I purchased 3 bottles in total, and this is the last of the third bottles. The third bottle that I have.
We feel privileged.
Wow, thank you.
Thank
So-
you.
Yeah, thanks
you
so
know,
much,
Thank
man.
you very much.
And forgive me because I
What a
should've-
great start, by the way.
Thank you. I should have given you guys some pointers to kind of get that going, right? So when tasting tequila, right, it's always important to get that first sort of whiff, but when you do it with your mouth open. So you're not getting the vapors, you're actually getting the aroma of the tequila, right? A lot of people smell and they smell with their mouth closed, and it's sort of the equivalent of taking a shot, right? Then you bring it up to your lips, let it sort of kiss your lips. You take a little bit more of a sip, rub it around your gums. And what you're doing is you're just tempering your palate, you're tempering your mouth, and then you swallow that, you start tempering your throat, and then it prepares you to receive the rest of the tequila.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was going without even knowing what I was
Absolutely,
talking
yeah.
about.
100%.
Like as you drink this, like yes, at first you're like, okay, it's a little hot, but then as you drink it and your palate adjusts to it.
Yep.
I got some really nice citrus notes,
Absolutely.
and which was really cool. But there's something else in there that's going on too, which I can't quite pinpoint.
For me, it's like cream soda or creamsicle. There's a creaminess, there's a viscosity to it that just makes it, it gives it a really long finish.
The difference between when I first tried it with, to use your word, nip, to nip it versus now is like night and day.
Night and
Yeah,
day.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
And
that's
it's so much
that's why I'm not
smoother.
a fan of ice,
Yeah.
right? Because the ice is just diluting it as it sits. So you're potentially changing the flavor too
Yeah.
much.
Right.
You're introducing water, and here the water may help because it's a higher proof than normal, but then you lose the flavor also, and you lose that creaminess, you lose that oiliness that's present here.
So
by adding water.
someone will have to call me an Uber tonight.
The same freaking thing.
So I took back the rest of my drink. It's a different experience. It's really, really good.
It is.
But
really nice.
wow,
It is.
that is powerful.
Yeah, what a
Powerful.
great start. What a
Yeah.
great start. to
Yeah,
that.
delicious.
I
Yeah.
can't emphasize enough, though, how helpful this little seminar and just how to approach a spirit like this was. Because when I first tried this, I mean, it came in hot like everyone described, but flavor wise, for some reason, I just kept getting this licorice like taste.
Exactly. I had that
which
earlier. Yeah. Anise and licorice.
I
Yeah.
really, really dislike licorice, so it's just a personal
Sure.
thing for me. I was like not very happy with this at first, and then listening to Puba describe, just take some more of this down, and your palate really does adjust, and then the creaminess really comes to the forefront.
Very unusual.
And now this is very much in
Yeah.
my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I think this is super instructive.
Unusual.
It also accentuates the anise flavors of the cigar.
Exactly.
Honestly,
Absolutely.
yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
I don't know. I think it goes. I don't know. I think there's a clash.
Uh-oh.
I think the brininess might be clashing a little
Yeah.
bit, but the anise that's present in the stick definitely is highlighted here as well.
I
But
just think it's the stick.
So, all right. So we're about halfway through here.
So look, I will tell you, this is definitely a cigar for the guy that likes the lighter cigars. It's a
I think
mild.
my father-in-law would love this.
Yeah, it's a very mild cigar. I happen to like this in the morning with a coffee.
Yeah,
It's very
Good
light.
morning
Yeah,
snack.
it's a good morning.
I
cigar.
also think my father-in-law would love this cigar.
Yeah, I totally think that he would love this. I
This-
mean,
hold on.
Me,
This is better than an Ashton.
Macanudo. We're about halfway through. To me, it hasn't changed much from the last time we checked in on it.
It's a simple. It's
yeah,
a very simple cigar.
It's smoking better than it was actually for me. I don't know about Puba, but it's improved a little bit. But it's
Puba's
still,
throwing it down. He's
yeah,
done.
it's still not. It's not great. It's not great.
I think the thing for me that's just disappointing is that I like some of the flavors that I get out of this cigar. I just don't get enough of it.
Yeah, it's very
exactly
mild.
right.
Like I really wish that they just had something else in their line
Totally
that
agreed.
has a little more oomph and
Very
a
mild.
bit more of
Very,
that
very
flavor.
mild. Yep.
And that would be more, I feel like, a lot of our speed.
Hard stop. That's totally accurate. There's absolutely nothing offensive about the flavor profile. It's just not enough.
Right. It's mild.
I mean, for me, I think that's the perfect description. When I say flat or it's just not. It's not enough.
I
Yeah.
totally agree.
And there's definitely light cigars that have a lot of flavor. Like
Yes.
we talk about the QDs.
Yep.
Um,
oh, those are amazing.
It doesn't have enough body.
yeah,
The cigar
not
does
body.
not have
It's
enough
the
body.
No.
It's not a flavor. It's
It's
body.
it's mild and lacks body, and for me, like they say on Shark Tank, and for that reason, I'm out.
Quite literally. Quite literally.
I think the combination of the clashing with the tequila and the tough draw, and some of the composite comments you were raising, it's just
I love mild, full bodied.
I don't think it's a clash.
Yeah, I want to say the same thing. I'm with you, Rooster. I don't think this clashes. And I say that because I'm actually glad, given how mild this is, that we started with a Blanco that like doesn't have like a ton of those sort of, whiskey notes that we would get out of an Añejo or something with more age. So I actually think the tequila helped this cigar for me.
I agree.
I'm right there with you. I unfortunately I knew of the cigars that we'd smoked prior to this, but I've never had them. That's one of the great things you guys have done for me through the podcast is, sort of spark my interest in Cuban cigars. Prior to this, all I smoked were New World cigars. So I had nothing to sort of base it off of, but it's kind of funny how they can work between the anise and, initially that start of smoke that, I don't know. I feel like milder cigars, the smoke is really what sort of comes through, and not a whole lot else.
Is that a common flavor profile in tequila anise?
It's not. It's not. No. What you're getting in this Blanco is unlike anything you will get in any other Blanco. It is just insane, and that's why for me, like, I appreciate it. If I bring another Blanco, or at some point we get to taste another Blanco, you see just how different they are. And even a Blanco that's maybe 80 proof will drink hotter than this because it just doesn't have that creaminess. It doesn't have that developed character that this guy has.
Well, let's try our second tequila.
Sounds good.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then let's try that because it's staring at me, and I want to try it.
You're dying to have it.
I'm dying to have it.
All right.
I'm so into tequila, dude.
It's beautiful.
Anything to help this cigar along.
Oh.
I can't promise that on this one because this tequila here, this is going to be Casa Noble Reposado. Now everyone talks about celebrity tequilas, and obviously George Clooney has Casamigos, and Sammy Hagar has, I forgot the name of it, Cabo Wabo.
Oh boy,
Gizmo coming in hot.
The
818.
Kardashian has 818, and Justin Timberlake had 901 at some
Don't
point.
forget about Dos Hombres, the
and
Breaking
Dos
Bad
Hombres.
guys.
I've actually never had that, and I probably would just because I love those guys.
Yeah.
And the Kardashians, right?
But
They have some
that's
tequilas.
818. That's 818.
818.
Yeah. So this is Casa Noble, and this Carlos Santana has a stake in this company, and he's had it since, I believe, 2013.
Let me tell you something. Carlos Santana is a badass.
He is.
Man.
What,
He
a,
is.
what a guitar player. What a songwriter.
Phenomenal.
What a legend.
Super humble about the whole thing too. Like nobody knows this. He's not out there banging his chest, and they're not relying on his endorsement to be a popular brand or anything like that.
So he's not riding a motorcycle like George Clooney
Yeah.
On tractor trailers.
Yeah.
with the wind blowing through his hair.
So,
Of course.
and something else to take note on, despite it being a celebrity tequila, he's doing everything right. I won't say he, but the brand is doing everything right. They're making this in artisanal methods. They're using brick ovens. They're using, proper mills. They're waiting for ripening of agaves. Maybe not as long as the Fuenteseca guy, but not as short as maybe some of the more popular tequilas that you see out there.
This is also very accessible, right? You can get this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So from here on out, the Blanco was $89, anywhere between, I say $89 to $100, probably more now. And the Casa Noble comes in at about 52.
Yeah,
Right? So
that's
now,
great.
and it's a lot easier to find at your local brick
Right.
and mortar.
That's right.
You don't have to go nuts for this one. But I'd much rather you buy this one than say the other one.
What's everyone getting on the nose?
Let's try this. Oh, the nose is wonderful.
It really is.
Oh, I'm just drinking.
I don't know, I don't know how.
Sweetness on it.
You know
Picked
what's
up my
interesting
champagne
about
there
this?
by
It's so
accident.
hard for me to describe the nose on these.
I'm getting honey all day on this,
I
Rick.
get like honey and even caramel.
Honey and caramel. Yeah, right on the first sip.
I'm getting some vanilla.
Pubo.
Vanilla,
Vanilla.
definitely.
That too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lots of vanilla here. Lots of vanilla, even butterscotch sometimes, but vanilla is like the signature here.
So is that like an
Um,
added?
It's not.
It's
Wow.
It's not. So these guys use, and forget, I speak great Spanish and pretty good English. My French, on the other hand, is somewhat iffy. So these this brand uses French Limousin barrels to age their juice.
I think Senator's getting an erection now.
You can't say erection on the pod.
So
Do not edit that.
the main difference here.
So clinical in the description.
That's right.
sorry, Ricky.
No worries, no worries. The biggest difference here is these guys distill 3 times. Most every other tequila distills only twice. These guys go 3 times, and they do that, just sort of. They're going for a somewhat smoother experience, and they want that vanilla nose to come through on the.
So is that what it does? It makes a tequila smoother?
Little smoother. It sort of cleans it up a little bit. It makes it, in my opinion, a little less soulful. But these guys do a good job of, not screwing it up.
Because it removes more of the particulates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's less of the.
Yeah. Usually that translates into a shorter finish,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It translates into a less creamy or viscous tequila. But here, because of the vanilla and almost root beer, like if you guys there's root beer on that finish, it's insane.
It almost tastes like a candy or something.
It's
Yep.
easy to drink.
Yep.
It's
super easy to
very
drink.
candy.
Yeah.
So it's almost
Super easy
Werther's.
to drink.
It's like a Werther's.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
The caramel's great. That's right there.
And so there's no additives in this either,
No
right?
additives.
Yeah, it's well done.
No additives. Brick ovens. They're using screw mills.
Wow.
So like I look at this. I look at this. I taste this, and then I compare this to something that I feel like has a lot of additives, which is George Clooney's brand,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a very sweet tequila, right?
Sure.
This is George Clooney's brand.
No, this is
No.
Carlos
No,
Santana.
it's not.
So and I.
Carlos Santana.
I like you too much.
How
to give
how
you
many
this.
tequilas have you had, Rooster? Welcome to the conversation, Rooster.
George Clooney's hammered.
By the way, just for the listener, they just legalized marijuana in New Jersey.
Yeah, you got to give Rooster a break.
So
I thought we were talking about George Clooney earlier. What's his brand? What's his-
Casamigos.
Casamigos.
we're
So
in
you
New
were- you were
we're in
comparing
New
the-
Jersey, by the way.
Ascend, baby, ascend.
Send.
Oh. Anyway, I don't know what I was saying.
Viva- Viva.
Something about sweetness and additives, and
Viva Carlos Santana.
it's a better sweetness
como
than
va?
I get
Yeah.
from that tequila.
Yeah, I agree. That the reason I even asked specifically if there were additives in here is just because I feel like I'm conditioned whenever I have a tequila that this is fairly sweet, not overly sweet, but fairly sweet. The first thing I worry about is additives, and I say that because I mean the one thing in the Casamigos line is Clooney's tequila. The Reposado is the sweetest tequila. It's the sweetest spirit, one of the sweetest spirits I've ever had in my life. And you immediately know there's no way that can be natural. They're obviously adding stuff. And even, Claus Azul that we've talked about, that Reposado is outrageously sweet. It's like candy to me. It's like cotton candy. There's no way that's all
So
natural.
it begs the question: How do you produce a tequila that has sweet notes without any additives in it? What part of the process gives you that?
You have to start with ripe agaves.
So you're waiting
Right.
a while then.
You're waiting a while. So we're talking about to get
10,
from
10 plus years.
easily.
Wow.
I'd say a minimum
That's
of 7
crazy.
years, and some go as
unbelievable.
far as
That's amazing
13.
discipline for a company.
And
Yeah.
this is just for a Blanco, right? So this isn't taking into account any aging that's done in wood to get to a Reposado, which you have to get to at least 3 months.
Here's another question: Is agave farmed or is it
It's-
out in the wild?
Blue Weber agave is farmed,
Okay.
but it can't be harvested with any type of machinery.
Mhm.
It
By
has to
hand.
be done by hand, and that's where the Himadors come in.
What's that tool they use?
That's
looks like
called a koa.
it looks like a machete.
COA. Yeah, it's a long stick, and at the end of it, there's sort of like this.
It's like a sickle.
Yeah.
Not a sickle. It's rounded. I don't want to say a teardrop. It's kind of like a half circle, sort of oblong, and they sharpen the edge before they hit the fields, and they go out there, and there's no other way to do it. And more often than not, there's no way to even get transportation onto the fields to bring the agave back to the distillery. So that's where the donkeys come into play. They load the horses or the donkeys up with the agave to carry back to the
How
truck
big?
that's
How
carrying.
big is an agave?
They could go, I would say, at minimum, you're talking like 18 kilos.
Oh wow!
Right? And then above that, the Blue Weber agave gets pretty big. You do with aging, you do lose volume.
Just size-wise, like a watermelon.
Yeah,
No,
larger.
much
larger.
larger.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Larger.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I'd say probably at a minimum of like 3 to 4 times
Like
that.
a big,
Yeah.
big, massive.
We'll get to
pumpkin.
the Fortaleza, but if you look at the Fortaleza cap there, that's what a finished piña looks like.
Okay.
So the only step left after that is cutting it in half before they place it into the ovens.
I just can't wrap my head around.
Why people do this?
No, not why. I know why, but just the investment, the energy, the time
Absolutely.
to see this thing from seed to harvest to bottled to consumed is there's such a long tail on this process.
Isn't it reminiscent to the process of making a cigar?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Cigar,
the beauty of
wine.
everything I'm hearing is really reminiscent to what we're
And-
smoking,
and, you
regardless
know,
of the cigar.
It does tie to the cigar, and we've talked
Yeah.
about this. It's a handmade product
yeah.
made by human beings.
There's an artisanal quality to the cigar,
Yes.
and what I'm appreciating about the tequila, I didn't realize how artisanal it was, how many hands touched it. It's incredible.
It is a passion project for these people. Yes, they want to make a profit, but it's a handmade earth,
Organic.
organic product. That, and the best of them don't have additives and junk in them, and they're not machine made. It's
And they take
it's a
their
celebration
time
of
Absolutely.
time and effort and energy and sweat,
And you can taste that.
and you can taste
Yeah.
it. Which is again, said it earlier, coming from a pedestrian understanding of tequila, this has really changed. This artisan understanding of it. It has really changed my perspective
Yeah,
on tequila. which
just
is
like
great.
a cigar.
Absolutely.
And it's a very difficult category to navigate without a little bit of guidance. So for me, this has been helpful because
Absolutely.
it's not like Scotch, which it's a little bit easier to navigate. There's a lot of tequilas out there, a lot. You get single malt Scotch, and it's a little bit. There's not as many brands.
Yeah.
So and there's age statements on them, and there's a lot of they're old brands, so they're well documented. These are brands that have been around for a long time. There's a lot of new entrants into the tequila market, and it makes it a tough one to navigate. So you're mixing in premium, what are marketed as premium spirits, which a lot of it's marketing. And how do you parse that? How do you not? You got to really do your research to find out, I think, what value for money, what you can get. It's a complicated category to
This is a
navigate.
very sexy space, clearly, because there are so many celebrities in it, right? I mean, we have to admit that. I mean,
because it's drank in bars and clubs.
exactly.
and you
It's
can-
a fun thing for these celebrities to throw some money into. They get a great, return on it. They market the shit out of it, and everybody's talking about George Clooney's tequila or the Kardashian.
It's a young
tequila.
person's-
Look,
exactly.
any spirit that's mixed into a cocktail or a drink of any kind,
Exactly.
they're selling much more of it, right? They're consuming much more of it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Disclaimer: I've never had Casamigos, ever.
That's George Clooney's,
Right.
by the way.
I've never
Thank
had
you, Giz.
Casamigos.
I just wanted to clarify.
Let's
Motorcycle with the wind in the hair.
This boom is driven by there's been a huge void, right? Like we think about years ago when any of us tried tequila for the first time, the number of tequilas that you would find on a shelf in a store, you could count on your hands.
That's true.
Jose Cuervo.
That was it, right? Jose Cuervo, Salsa,
That's
a
true.
few others, and that was it.
Yeah.
And
Salsa's
there's a
the
huge
oldest
opportunity
tequila brand.
there.
Yeah. And honestly, before we started drinking tequila, you guys turned me on to it. Honestly, I was intimidated by it. I didn't,
Me
I
too.
felt, it's
Me
like
too.
you said back in college. For me, it wasn't that far
I could
long
have-
ago, but it would make me sick.
I could have
honestly.
never imagined it pairing as well with the cigar as it does.
Yeah.
I really could.
Yeah.
So speaking of cigars, boys, we're coming to the end of the La Punta from San Cristóbal de la Habana. My opinion has not changed. I'm curious what the rating is going to be on this thing from everybody, but
Well, we can't always rate an 8 or a 9 cigar.
You're totally
in
right.
this room.
You're totally right. And I would say from a Cuban standpoint, my guess is
really
that this
wish
is
we
going to
did.
be on the weaker end.
Yeah.
So,
But
Are
it's
you guys-
indicative of the profile as well.
absolutely.
Mild
Absolutely.
cigar.
Yeah, and the taste profiles in this room
Yep.
don't align with mild.
Right.
So you guys ready to give this the formal lizard rating? We good? Rooster, you're up.
Yeah, so I think this is a good, decent morning cigar, maybe with a cup of coffee
Agree.
and stuff. It's mild, does have good aroma. I mean, it is kind of flat. It's like one note.
One note.
So I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
Booba.
it's a 6 for me. I'm not. What we said, we made the points before. I don't think we need to.
Yeah,
go,
we don't need to harp
no,
on it.
No.
For me, this is a 5 all day.
I'm at a 6.
Ricky, our guest
Sir,
lizard.
First guest to make her to have a rating here.
that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
So yeah, Gizmo, I'm with you. I'm at a 5, and maybe I'm a little biased just because I feel like these tequilas are freaking awesome, and the cigar is just not, and not to say that we're pairing them by any means, but yeah, I actually probably smoked a little bit more than the first third and haven't touched it.
Grinder, you're up.
I'm a 6.
I'm at a 7. And I say that because I do love this in the morning. Gets me started.
Okay.
Nice and mild and simple. And for an entry level Cuban, which is what I think this is, I think it does its job.
Well, the Composite Lizard score, boys, is a 5.9.
Ooh.
That's the lowest rating for a Cuban
I've
cigar I think,
ever-
on this podcast.
Ever.
In 30 episodes,
That's right.
32 episodes. Definitely on the lowest end of it.
Okay, I'll burn them tomorrow.
These might need some age.
Yeah.
Let them sit for
Maybe.
a
But I
while.
wonder if, since they are so mild, I mean, with time, I can't imagine that they're
Well,
going to
so
increase.
is a
Any
Hoya.
smoother than they are.
It's not like they're super young.
Right,
they're
but
3 years old.
like some cigars do need a lot more aging than others.
true.
Like some of the Hoyos and Montes, I think some of the older Montes
I mean,
and the Hoyo Epicures, you let them
but-
sit for like 10 years.
yeah, but they're starting off with so much more.
Hoyo Epicure number 2 is very mild.
When
But there's-
they're fresh, they'll bite you. There's I don't know.
Yeah, they're pretty mild. I mean, you let them sit for a while.
I think an
anyway.
Epi2 is a far better cigar at any age than this
Oh,
will
This is
ever
the,
be.
this is they're not even in the same conversation.
I would certainly put that above this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we
But
have
our
not
rating
even
did
compare
that.
'em.
Sure.
Our rating
I
did
mean,
that.
I think the fact that I have never heard of this. I I maybe have heard of it, but I didn't really.
It's a fairly,
Let's go back to
fairly
the
new
two.
brand.
Let's go back to the tubo for the Epi 2. I don't want to let it go because I don't think that this is like an Epi 2. I mean, to quote Senator, this cigar is has way fuller than I anticipated it to be when we smoked that tubo, and I think it got a pretty good rating.
It
I'm
did.
just saying,
It absolutely did.
like mild doesn't mean
lack of
lack
Lack of
body.
flavor, lack of body.
Yeah, okay. It's not a nicotine stick, the Epi 2, but it delivers some body when they're good. So I think just
And that was a 2016, 2017 that you brought in the tuba?
no, that was like a 2020
Oh, it was.
or a 19 or a 20.
It was a great cigar. Listen, at the end of the day here, a 5.9 says it all, boys.
Yes, sir.
It does. So Ricky will be back for part 2 of our tequila deep dive in 2 weeks. I want to thank Ricky. He's a chef and partner at Añejo. I can't say that as well as he can.
Añejo.
Añejo.
There you go.
I can't do
Añejo.
the Añes.
Añejo.
You just did it.
In New York and Philly. And we'll have him back in 2 weeks. We really appreciate you coming out, Ricky, and being our first guest in the pod and educating us degenerate lizards on the wonders of artisan tequila.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thank
Just
you.
returning
And
the favor,
and
guys.
for
You
those
did it.
of-
You did it with Cuban cigars for me. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And for those of you on the northeast of the United States, northeast corridor, got to check out Philly and New York Añejo locations. They're doing great stuff over there. And Ricky's, obviously you can see the proof is in the pudding with how much commitment they're doing there.
Yeah, they know their stuff.
They know their stuff.
And the food is great too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
of course.
All right, boys, a 5.9 for the San Cristóbal de la Habana La Punta. Some great tequila, and we'll see you next week.
Smoke it.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, loungelizardspod, P-O-D, that's loungelizardspod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.